So let's move on to our next presenter today, Dr. Sayan Chattopadhyay. Today is going to be speaking about the science and technology and mythologies and science fictions, critiquing the politicized scientific and technological developments of the ages before us. Please, Sayan, unmute yourself and turn on your camera.
So what I'll be discussing today is rather something that made me curious on the first hand. Hi, I'm Sayan, and I'm honored and privileged to be a part of this TASA conference. Today, I'll be speaking upon the science and technology in mythologies and science fictions. This is more of an exploration that I did, and probably I could eventually recognize with something that I'm corely related with to something that I was not at all aware of. I will be critiquing the politicized scientific and technological developments of the ages before us. So, just to start with the thought, I belong to corely the field of science fiction. And just stepping into the field, I was questioning that what is the origin point of this very genre? Where did science fiction started? We speak of a lot of things. We speak of AI, we speak of quote unquote technologically advanced beings. We speak of genetically modified beings. Also, recently we are speaking of post animals. We are speaking of technologies that are probably 500 to 1,000 years from now on in the future. Seemingly possible because it's again fiction and not fantasy. So I was looking up on Google and I noticed that there are a lot of answers available. I found that some are saying it is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein that started all the studies, that started all the explorations around science fictions. Some said that it goes back to, the mythological tale of Daedalus and Icarus, where Icarus just created his wax wings, flew away towards the sun. I couldn't get one solidified answer that tells me that this has inspired what today we call as science fiction. And so was this study, so was this research, which I'm sharing with you all today. Starting with the idea given by Arthur C. Clarke, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And this is a quote which I have taken from the text Profiles of the Future. Now, if you haven't gone through that, I insist you must, because it's a brilliant, brilliant tale and narrator where he has discussed a lot of his prophecies, you can say, or his fictions for the future. Some are headlined in the text as well, in the picture on the left. Contact with extraterrestrial, artificial breeding of intelligent animals, machines which can duplicate everything, including themselves, human immortality. Now, while exploring these ideas in science fiction, I suddenly wondered that aren't these very similar ideas or philosophies that we have seen already in the mythological tales? So what if we go back to the times when who knows what gods are, but those beings existed? Why don't we just go back to those ancient times and question exactly what Arthur C. Clarke is saying? That is or was the technology back then, however it was, whatever it was, so futuristic that it seemed magical. Here on the right of the PPT is a picture, an art drawn by Diego Rivera. Here you can see some humans worshipping the creator gods. Now, after analyzing this picture, I came back to the idea that what are gods? Are they something sublime? Well, remains to question. Are they something that we could say as extraterrestrial? Remains to question. Could we say that they are aliens? Because in the portrait, they don't really look like humans. But then again, the question remains, what are aliens? Are they prehistoric creatures? Are they futuristic creatures? Are they beings just like us? Who knows? So I started my exploration with these thoughts, with the very idea of, culturing where it all originated. Interestingly enough, that showed me a lot of things which I don't know, I could see in present science fiction narratives, in science fiction tales, be that of the 20th century or be that of the 21st century. Starting all this comparative study with the slide stating the gateway, quote unquote, our future of transportation. In science fiction, we have came across a lot of gateways, if I can say. Wormhole transportation. You are just standing here, there's a wormhole, and you just step into that wormhole, and voila, you're in a different time zone altogether, or probably in some different place. Let me not, but the very popular Japanese cartoon or anime, Doraemon, also the gadget Anywhere Door. Interestingly enough, web series and films are there as well, which explores this very exact ideology of transportation. One of the most popular transportations could be seen in Dark, the German Netflix series. There you could see that there are time holes where you can literally step in and step out on a different alternate timeline. Looking back at mythologies, I also found something similar, and interestingly, way before science fiction even existed. Some are mentioned below. Now, the first one I wish to talk about is Bifrost. Marvel Universe has pretty much overpopulated all of these terms in a way, but Bifrost comes from the Norse mythology, where this is more like a bridge between the Earth and the Asgard, or rather from Asgard to any place on any universe. It's a bridge, it's a link that makes transportation so quick that probably, as seen in movies, or even if we go back to the Norse mythologies, it's probably some seconds, which allows gods, quote unquote, whom we don't know, or beings to travel from one place to another. Another which comes down on the same line, and I've used a rainbow thing because nearly in all the mythologies, I found that this rainbow is used to showcase this path. Dreamtime paths are something which we found in the Aboriginal Australian mythologies. Same thing in a different way, but again connects the earth to the heaven. Again, the god are using this to travel from somewhere to somewhere. Another typo, but pardon me for that. Iris's rainbow pathway, which brings us back to Greek mythology, but again, the same thing, exact same thing. Next up, we have Ehika's pathway, which is somewhat common to what I can say. I don't have a name for that, but in West Bengal, we have Durga Puja. And while the start of the puja, we say that there's a phase called Agomoni, where basically the goddess Durga lands from the heaven to the earth. It's said in the hymns of the puja that there's a cloud or there's a path of clouds through which the goddess lands on earth. Ehikal's pathway from the Aztec is pretty similar, which I found. But also, I found interestingly the netherworld path, which, how am I to say, is not really showcased in a positive way, but comes from the Egyptian mythology and is rather a link between the world and the underworld, through which every human needs to pass after their life. Interestingly enough, the gateways are so well built that there are no breaks. The gateways are so heavenly or so, I don't know, sci-fi-ish that even today, building them seems futuristic. What about the tech then? How it was built then? Do we have something as of that today? I don't know. But interestingly, I would look up to the line project that's presently happening in Saudi. Now, if you've not heard of the line project, just go to Google, search it up, the line project. You will see a sci-fi project that's recently going on with billions of dollars already invested, the construction already started in Saudi. What this is doing is it is creating a sense of transportation from one end to the another. Now, to be noted, these two ends which we are talking of are of exactly 170 kilometers, which the line aims to travel at only 20 minutes. How, I don't know. It's yet to reveal. According to that speed given by the project itself, we can estimate that the speed on an average will be 510 to 510 to 12 kilometers per hour, which is enormously huge for today's transportation. Moving next on to what I found on this comparative study are the ornaments, are the jewelries, or whatever they quote unquote wear. Here, I have searched upon and looked upon certain ideas that I found common in both mythological aspects and again, sci-fi aspects. Talking of Jove's bracelet, talking of Draupnir, which was Odin's, talking of the Vajat eye, which was quote unquote also coming back to the Egyptian mythology, all of these were jewelries. All of these were ornaments that were to be worn. All of these were also items that gave the one who wears it extreme and enormous powers. Sounds similar? Well, for that reason, I have come down to explore, certain characters from the sci-fi generation. First, I would like to talk about Green Lantern, a DC character with a ring. Now, all of this concept, all of the story of the Green Lantern is just that he is a generic guy, just like you and me, who is selected by a ring. Who is selected by a ring, not selects a ring. Here, we understand that the ring has an autonomous identity. The man wears the ring, or the ring chooses the man to wear it. The man becomes Green Lantern, a superhero that protects the universe. Similar happens with Thanos. I have given the comic cover of quote unquote the most popular Thanos story, which also was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the End Game or in the Infinity War. But yeah, the Infinite Gauntlet, a gauntlet that could erase the entire universe, that had the power of the entire universe. That gauntlet gave Thanos the power that he couldn't ever have. Similarly, Iron Man and his suit. Consider just a man fighting supervillains. That really doesn't seem possible. But with Tony Stark, it's a bit different. He is not a guy with superpowers. He is not a guy who was chosen by ring, just like Green Lantern. He was a guy who had a lot of money. He had economic liberty. And so he built himself the most futuristic suit ever. And what that suit gave him was, again, great power. All of this could be traced back in mythologies as well, be that Norse, be that Greek, be that even in Hindu mythology, where I'd like to point out the armors of Karna from the epic tale of Mahabharata. Now, if you go back to Mahabharata and if you look up to the armors of Karna, you will see that the armors were there to protect him. Once the armors were down, Karna was quote unquote killed. Moving on to the next idea, which I found fascinating and which something is really rather discussed today in the field of science fiction as well, genetic mutation. Interestingly enough, this is the year, including last year, I would say, where post-animalism is growing as a topic in science fiction. Be that through conferences, be that through academic papers, be that through research, whatever it be. The very idea of a genetically mutated being is coming into prominence. While searching mythologies, I've also found certain figures. Consists of the legendary horse Sleipnir, which image is on the screen, the eight-legged horse, of Garuda, just right to Sleipnir in green. Below that, we have Fenrir, the legendary wolf, and just left to that, we have Ganesha. What's interesting here is that genetic mutation is rather not something which is happening today or which is thought of today. We have been mix and matching a lot of animals with a lot of animals from a real long time. Go back in the mythological age and we'll see in the Egyptian mythology the existence of Sphinx. We would see that the body of a man would go well with the head of a lion. And that's just not limited to the Egyptian mythology, but also the Hindu mythology, where we get the character of Narsimha. I don't know what came first, but I'm sure the world was pretty connected back then. Then we have the concepts of centaurs, half man, half horse. Pretty noble figures, pretty feared characters. But again, they seem to exist in a lot of mythologies, not just in Norse, but in Greek. If I may say, in a way, it was also existing in Hindu and, in certain sense, Japanese mythology. We could see the concept of Garuda pretty popularly all around the world. I mean, wherever you'd see a Hindu temple, chances are they have came across the concept or the figure of Garuda. Now, Garuda is figure with the body of a man and the head of an eagle. I don't know how that can exist in real life, but yes, talking mythologically or talking sci-fi-ishly, things like that exist. Things like that can exist.
Cheyenne,
If we
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. You have about 1 minute
absolutely,
left, so if you can wrap up, that would be
absolutely,
really good. Thank you.
absolutely, we could see all of these, and then just to explore on very short the chariots. We see the chariots as well in both the mythologies and in science fiction. How in science fiction you would say the chariots have taken shapes of super flying vehicles, just as Shield's helicarrier. But then, just to wrap up with, the war is a very integral part of any mythology that ever existed. That showcases every inch of power that could either destroy or that could either structure up the entire society. Certain examples I've given: Aegis Shield, Talos, Medusa's Gaze, Mjolnir, Sudarshana Chakra, and quote unquote the mythological atom bomb, the Brahmastra. What we see in real common are three things: the pursuit of immortality, the creation of artificial life, disregard of the balance. These are the reasons why mythological tales explores the concept of a cautionary tale. So I question and I leave the question to you all, ending my presentation, that how mythological are fictions and how fictional are mythologies? I'll leave it to you. Discuss upon yourself. Leave me any comment or questions that you have. Thanks. That was my presentation, and I'll stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne. Food for thought, definitely.